On this year's Danube Dialogue Festival, I co-curated the exhibition together with Diana Marinku, the exhibition of dialogue between Timisoara and Novi Sad. And we invited three artists from Timisoara and three artists from Serbia, which is usual practice of this part of Danube Dialogues. So we created three different exhibitions in three different exhibition spaces. But for this year is different that we used some very specific locations for those exhibitions. So we used some spaces on the Petrovaradin fortress. Two of them are part of the city museum of Novi Sad. So they are located on the fortress. One of them is Great War Well, another one is underground military fortress. So very specific places with very strong historical and architecture characteristics. And all of those areas influenced on our choice of the artist. The third place is also a specific one. It's situated in the city square, in the subtown area of Petrovaradin. So it's open area, and we needed to think about the artists who can deal with public art, with wide audience, also about open space. We created the concept of those exhibitions also dealing with the main topic of the Danube Dialogue Festival in general also, because we are thinking about dialogue between different art scenes in the Danube region and communication, which is very important to all of our artists in this region. Also, we are dealing with the topic of this year's festival. It's a topic of society and art in the forced reality, which is very current topic connected with the social issue, also with the pandemic situation, influence on art scene, on the private life of the artists. So we needed to think more deeply about all of those connections and also connections between each artist from Timisoara and Novi Sad. So it was, we could say, maybe a really complex situation, but I think that we resolved it on the easiest way, because we found artists who can deal to each other and who deal also with society issues, and who are working mostly in different media, connected intermedia artwork with society issues. And we chose from the side of Serbia, which was artist Danica Vučetić, Danica Bićanić, and also Dragan Vojvodić. So I would tell maybe more about artist Danica Vučetić. She is dealing with video art installations more than 30 years on artist scene of Serbia, but also abroad. She won Most Precious Art Award on our art scene also, and she mainly created different kind of video installations, video environments, and also self-performed videos. For this exhibition, we chose two video works, which I think that they are really related to all of those topics which I already said. In those two videos, she's also self-performed and combine different kind of her situation and position in some isolated space. In one video, she is confronted with one very big glass window as one membrane, and one person is from one side of that space, another one in another side, and they are trying to connect to each other. So it's a topic of inner and outer space also, about isolation and some possibilities to go further, to go on the other side, maybe to escape from that kind of the prison and to go maybe in some Eden garden or something like that. In another video, she is also dealing with the topic of the isolation. She's mostly in the very similar industrial space, and she's dealing very usual everyday life movement, like what we are doing each day. She's cleaning, cycling, walking, exercise, and so on. So it's like life in isolation and thinking about yourself and communications with your things and thoughts. It's also connected with the topic of exactly space, because there is a very deep well which military used only in some extreme situation of the isolation of siege, or some situations when military needed to survive an extreme war activities. So this is connect. I don't want to now to say more, but it's really connected with social issue of today, everyday life of each of us in the past 1 year and more, maybe 2 years in the Corona crisis. On the second exhibition, I chose Danica Bičanić. She's the artist from Novi Sad, and she's dealing in a different media, always combining them, and she's working in some kind of the cycles always. She's starting with one circle and combining different things. She's always started with one very abstract black object, and she researched that object and put them in different positions in a different media. But when she finished with that circle of exhibitions and researches, she's sometimes just burning everything and starting from the beginning, using that ash from the previous artwork. So she's using documentary material, archive material of previous works, and she's also dealing with her body. In this space, she's using a space for for intermediate installation. She has there video performance, also flags, prints. So she's putting this black object. Is that a human body, or is that some abstract picture? She's using all the time on a different way. Third artist is Dragan Vojvodic, and he is dealing also with different media, also a lot with performance art, with photography, with installation art, video, and so on. And he is dealing with the topic of identity, with personal memory, also collective memory, memory of idea about ex-Yugoslav region, his personal story of migration also, and he's even using some kind of the strategy of nomadic life even now through whole of his artistic practice. And for this occasion we chose one artwork which are connected more and dealing more with open space and with the artwork of his colleague from TIMITOARA. It's one work which is using letter and statements. This would be a premiere of this video installation, so it would be presented first time on the Danube Dialogue. And he is using one very famous statement from the past, from the history of feminist movement. Personal is political, but he is using this in a connection with a current social situation where everybody become with their body and with their mind part of some kind of the political system and part of some statistics. So everybody now become political issue or questioned. So we can think about all of this, but I think that all of these artists are very much connected with the current art scene and situation on general situation in society.
This year I will participate on Danube Dialogue Contemporary Arts Exhibition Festival with one textual work, and I will be part of dialogue between Romanian and Serbian artists. And the name of my work is Statement, and I use that name because I insist that statement I appropriate from female movement from 70s in USA, I insist that this is also my statement. Everything I appropriate from other artists, other discipline, I present as my own. The text will be projected on the wall, and it will be signed. The personal is political. All my work is I find it very personal, and that's why I use that kind of statement. And also that statement it starts using in 70s in one female movement in USA used that statement, but today I again want to light that statement because it's very important this day to light individual, but also that statement could be story about artist position or individual position, not only human rights, but also in individual position, individual life, especially in that pandemic era when we don't mention who dies, only we mention numbers. Nobody mention anymore names who dies, and that's why I use that statement. It could be very active, and for me art first for me art should be not aesthetic but ethic.
So my name is Diana Marincu. I am a curator, and I have been invited by the festival Danube Dialogues to co-curate together with Sanja the selection of the artists trying to connect Novi Sad with Timișoara, and my selection was about the Romanian art scene and Sanja's about the Serbian art scene. It was a great opportunity for us also to learn more about each artist that we discussed about, but also it has been such a great privilege and honor to work with the team of the Danube Dialogues. It's been really great not only to know a bit more about the Novi Sad art scene, but also to learn more about the historical places where the exhibitions take place. Because they are unconventional spaces, it has been really a provocation to find the right match between the artist and the space, but it's something that is also very inspiring for my work as a curator. So in the end, I chose 3 Romanian artists that I like very much and I think connect very well to the whole topic of the Danube Dialogues, because all 3 artists relate somehow to the topic of borders, of transgressing borders, but also to the topic of identity, memory, layers of history, and also in between spaces. So, for example, Andreea Medar is an artist who works a lot with inspiration from personal life, but she tries to also connect them to more general topics. For this edition of the Danube Dialogues, she's showing an installation which is interactive, and the public can actually touch the sphere that she created using very small mirrors, so that the viewers can see themselves mirroring into the object, but at the same time the object reflects these images on the walls. And it's really interesting. I called it a reflective object for a reflecting self. It's very much about introspection, but on the other hand, on the way somehow our own image is being projected in the exterior. Juana Paula Weiner is an artist who is showing an audio installation which is made up by 3 audio pieces. The first one is actually samples of different interpretations of the song Cry Me a River, which is a song created especially for Ella Fitzgerald, but of course along the years many other musicians interpreted it. The next audio piece is the artist reading an article from the New York Times from 1983, telling the story of all the people who tried to escape communist Romania by crossing the Danube, by swimming into the Danube towards the ex-Yugoslavian border. Which is also a story about how the Danube itself functioned as a symbol of hope and also as, also a tragic encounter with death, because many of these people died while trying to escape, but also it's a reminder of the freedom that we have nowadays. And the third audio piece is actually the sound of the Danube spring, the sound of the origin of the Danube, which is also a metaphorical reminder of how things work as a flow between all these topics like identity, politics, nostalgia. And Liliana Mercioiu-Popa is the artist from my selection who is showing a public artwork which is made up of a text in metal which says, "What about you?" It's a message that is both very strong aesthetically, but I think it works very well now given the context we are in. It's a question also relating to arts. What about you as a public? How do you relate to art? But also it's a question about your own responsibility. How do you react to what's going on in the public space? And I think it's also a question, it's a very subtle question. It's not necessarily something that will strike you, but I think it stays with you afterwards while wondering what is your active role.